You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We're in that hangover period.
Oh, you're assuming I'm not going to be able to get this thing out on time?
I was going to say,
Happy 2020.
Are you enjoying and listening to this as you open your gifts? That's right.
Hey, I'm Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Hey, I was just looking here. I was going to tell you guys I'm reading a book right now, and I wanted to recommend it to
with
listeners.
Pictures or without pictures?
There's actually, it looks like there's a little thing in the middle with some pictures, but I haven't got to them yet.
That's a happy
I'm saving them. It's big, but it's, somebody had mentioned it was good. It's called Console Wars, and it's about Sega versus Nintendo back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's like all the behind the scenes stuff. It is so good. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, it's so good listening to how they were, just trying to outdo each other and steal each other's employees and all this stuff. It's great. So if you have any interest in that stuff, like I just have a peripheral interest in it, and it still is riveting to me. I've just burnt through it. I'm about halfway through, and just like the last couple days, and man.
What little we've talked about video games on this show, it seems to be everyone was either a Nintendo house or a Sega house. It was rare to have a full setup of everything. So I'm sure
an Atari house.
House.
Right, yeah.
So it's like Coke Pepsi divide. It's either G.I. Joe Transformers. It's one or the other.
Yeah, that's definitely it. But this it's mostly from the Sega perspective, and they're the cool company basically is how it comes off, and it's they're definitely the underdog, and it's really interesting to see how they changed things around there, or made a move on Nintendo, who was very strict the way they did things, the way it was ran by those guys. And anyway, it's great. It was great.
Just under the wire, we've talked about one book this year.
Yeah.
We cover pop culture
we found one
in all its width and breadth.
Yeah.
And sometimes we read a book.
Yeah. I just really think that anybody listening to us really was playing those games at that time, and will definitely be like, oh, this, just get so much information behind things that you're familiar with. So I definitely recommend it.
I like it. One book.
All right. Well, let's get to it.
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are.
Cross the streams.
What do you have streaming?
I'm going to throw a curveball right out of the bat.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Watch a little Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, I was going to say, here's your gift, Coach Mayer. I got two things for you. Springsteen and Watership Down. He ought to be having a good Christmas right about now.
Yeah, I just saw the preview on Netflix like last night when I went to bed, and I was like, well, this looks very interesting.
Yeah, he's been doing what's called Springsteen on Broadway. He's been doing a show on Broadway as advertised. And so Netflix is carrying it. And I've seen a couple people on my Facebook feed, very few people are casual Bruce fans. Like, you are either really into it or a couple songs. And people have been, like, I heard someone was like, I've never cried during 10th Avenue Freeze Out before. Like, people, like, this is like hitting them hard.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got through about half of it. I turn it on, a couple different times throughout the day. It's 2.5 hours long. It's just him on a stage by himself in a black T-shirt. Minimal lighting, no set. Just either he's at a piano or playing a guitar, and kind of telling stories, talking about his mom and his dad and growing up and his friends and his first band and all this stuff. And I really liked how it started. He reveals, he calls it his magic trick. And he was like, I've never worked a 9-to-5 job in my life. I don't know what the inside of a factory looks like. He's like, I just sing about it. I'm not working hard. The people who are working hard are they're the ones I'm singing about, but I've never been that person. And I appreciate, like, okay, that's cool. He's not trying to pass himself off as something else.
He finally isn't trying to pass himself off. I had heard it was really good. Someone else had said that.
I'm not a huge fan, but I've been enjoying it, and I think it's a lot of stories that his autobiography just came out, I think, last year. So I'm sure it's a lot of the same kind of stories.
Yeah, he did a big tour and did some book signings with that too. I remember when that was happening.
Yeah, Jared, my brother, I still remember he came to me after becoming a father and realizing he needed to get more into dad rock. And it was just a solemn moment. He's like, I don't think I've given Bruce Springsteen enough of a chance. I was like, well, you need to remedy that. So he's really into him, and I like. He's always been good, but he has so much more than typical like arena rock. Yeah. So
he's a troubadour,
right? But for let's say a casual Bruce fan, I still enjoyed what I saw. So
yeah,
Netflix
I'd consider. We'll see how desperate it gets. What else?
Oh, speaking of things we've half watched.
Great.
There might be a lot of that this week.
Yeah, might be. It's been busy. Holidays are busy time. I have one episode left of She-Ra on Netflix. So
Lord Hordak has been watching you, Adora. He thinks you are a fine candidate for Force Captain.
You've been promoted?
Your mission is to destroy the princess's rebellion.
This is what I've been working for my entire life. I wonder what's even outside the fright zone. We're gonna see the world and conquer it. Ketra, slow down!
Adora.
Ketra?
Our planet needs you. Cool. The sword has chosen you. The time has come for your destiny.
Glimmer?
I see her, Bo. All I did was pick up the sword and then whoosh! I'm in a tiara. We can't trust her.
For as far as animation goes, and the more I watch this silly show for kids, the more I like it. The animation still isn't great, like we've talked about all that stuff, but it does have a nice message, especially for younger kids. And I like I said before, I like some of the changes they've made with the all the princesses being connected, all the princesses being more or less guardians of the Etheria, the planet that she's on now, instead of just her always being, the big white knight on the big white horse, who happens to talk now in the new series. Swiftwind speaks, and it's
Stop the press.
Yeah. So I'm
Is there any merchandise out there? Are they?
I'm sure there
trying to
is,
cash
but
in on that, or are they behind?
My kids are a little older now. I'm not a frequent flyer of the toy aisle anymore.
Oh, we're straight to Hot Topic.
Right to Hot Topic.
Oh, was that for Carly?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're doing a show. He sent us a picture the other day of the red jacket.
Cheryl.
Where'd you find that?
Hot Topic.
Oh man, that's why I was like, that is going to be the best Christmas ever.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah, I stopped. Actually, I saw Cliff at the mall that Sunday.
Yeah.
I stopped.
I gotta tell you. Well, wait. I was a little disappointed when he gave us each a gift a little bit ago, and as soon as he handed it to me, I was like, "This is not going to be the jacket."
I may have spoiled you guys last year with the little Southside Serpent patches I bought everybody.
Still displayed proudly. But no, I stopped into Hot Topic, and the girl working there, someone who shops at my store, she's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Anything I can help you find?" And I was just like, "I need all the Riverdale you got. Point me in the direction of Riverdale."
Wow.
It's going to be Riverdale Christmas.
Changing montage. That would have been awesome.
And I threw my Jughead hat like Mary Tyler Moore.
Wow.
What else? What else are we watching?
We had a holiday episode of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. and they had just announced it's been renewed for 2 more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more Sabrina on the way.
They settled down their lawsuit with
the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
Did we ever talk about that?
I don't think we did.
Yeah, the large statue in the witch school looks suspiciously, exactly, allegedly, like a statue the Satanic Temple erected, fighting
Build a bear thing.
Fighting, right?
Yeah.
Deep cut number 1 of the night. Fighting church versus state, conflict of, if you can have 10 commandments, we can have a statue of Baphomet, the demon. But the statue they made is a direct copy of it, so that has been figured out.
Yeah, Netflix shelled out some money for that, I'm sure.
Straight to Satan's coffers.
Right.
If they can spend $100 million on Friends.
That's true.
I watched a show on Prime called Inside Jokes, which it's I guess a documentary or whatever. It's like 8 episodes, I think. It's about the Just for Laughs festival in Montreal, where they supposedly that's the place that they find all the new comic talent each year, and it was just they followed like 5 different comedians trying to get accepted to go to that, and then had them performing there, and just their journey through that experience, and who kind of did the best and who didn't make it and stuff, and it was pretty good. So if you're a comedy fan, it's a good true life thing. See some up and coming comedians.
And I watched finished up this morning season 1 of Titans on DC Universe, and they kind of anyone that hasn't watched any of the seasons so far, if you remember the trailer, started out with the infamous Robin, derogatory mark towards Batman. And in this last episode, the big hype going into it was they were going to show Batman, and Robin was going to fight Batman.
He was going to what, Batman?
He was going to fight him.
You should bleep that. Yeah.
Fight him.
This was the Jimmy Kimmel unnecessary.
Finally going to Batman.
And so I was like, well, let's see what this is all about, because I've been telling Michael, because he's been watching it as they come out too.
So this is the show with Cyborg, right?
No.
I thought Titans.
No, we'll get that in a minute.
I just like to throw a wrench in there.
No, this season has been about finding Raven and protecting her against we don't know what. We thought it was these bad people, and we did away with them and got rid of them, and just to come to find out that the big bad is Trigon, her father Trigon. It's a very overdone Titan story. Seems like every time there's a new cartoon Titans come out, that's the go-to. So we've gotten to the point where we're basically every other episode is good. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not, but you can pretty much count on every odd number episode being good, okay, or even whichever way it goes. So the last episode wasn't great. It was more or less Corey finding out who she is a little bit and remembering why, because she has no memory. All she knows is she's supposed to find Raven. Okay. So anyways, we found Raven, and they've accidentally released Trigon. Okay, that's where we left off. And then this episode,
do we see Trigon?
Not like you. It's just a guy.
Oh.
There's no.
Wasn't that a short pants character? What's that? I'm serious. I'm asking. Didn't you guys have somebody in there?
Tricera Lad.
Oh. Okay,
who became Tricera Man when he stopped being a kid's sidekick.
Yeah.
Find all about it on lowwords.wordpress.com.
Yeah, some websites.
Inside jokes streaming now on Prime.
There it is. So they released Trigon, and we open up, and Dick is found himself in a make-believe world where he has married with a child to Dawn from Hawk and Dove.
That seemed, from what the tone I've seen of that show, doesn't seem.
That's why every other episode.
That's weird.
It goes back and forth, and he's living his best life, and out in California somewhere, and he ends up being called back to Gotham and hasn't been there in years. It's 5 years. We've done a 5-year time jump, and he has to go back to Gotham because Batman is going to kill the Joker. That's what brings him back, and then he ends up trying to bring Bruce back to the good side.
The trailer famously had Robin kill a bunch of people who are not anywhere nearly as bad as the Joker.
Yeah. Well, and that's addressed. He
learned his lesson. And
he's mentioned. I've been there. I've done this, and it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything for you. You don't gain what you think you're going to gain out of it. So
what's the next? Is Doom Patrol the next thing launching?
Yeah, Doom Patrol's coming very soon. The other big thing,
just got some photos of costumes and cast.
Which the Doom Patrol episode they did as the backdoor pilot was. Michael and I talked about it. We both loved it. It's one of our favorite episodes. The Hawk and Dove 2 episodes and the Doom Patrol were probably both of our favorites, which had nothing to do with the actual Titans characters. If that tells you a little about the series. But the last thing I want to say, watch it all the way to the end. There is an extra credit scene at the very end of the last episode of season 1. You guys want to know who shows up?
Do it.
Okay. So we've had Dick Grayson, we've had Jason Todd, we've got Starfire, we've got Beast Boy, we've got the Doom Patrol, Hawk and Dove. Who else has been on it? Many other characters have been mentioned. Okay, Raven, we already mentioned all her. At the very end of the series, all the credits have rolled, and we find ourselves there's a lab, and we see a very muscular young man, kind of naked, meandering around this lab in Metropolis. And he's breaking out, and he walks over, and sure enough, who's there in a cage but Crypto, the super dog. And Superboy Connor walks over, and he breaks open that cage. And so season 2, we've got a very muscular He-Man of a super lad.
Interesting.
Wow, you're just in DC heaven.
It was great. And then after I watched all that, I hopped on Facebook and I got to see the Doom Patrol stuff. And Cyborg. It was great.
I said none of these things ever look great. Even the biggest budget Marvel or DC movie, just a still photo in bright, harsh lighting doesn't always look good. And then when they're in motion and moving around, it's always better. But
every Entertainment Weekly cover ever is terrible.
Now, did you guys watch the little video of where they're having their portrait taken?
Yeah, just kind of nodding and smiling.
Yeah,
that thing I said about motion making it look better. Disregard.
Do you guys do you prefer the overly CGI stuff like Marvel does in their movies, or do you like the more practical look of stuff?
There's got to be a happy medium.
I generally would prefer practical.
I do
but
too.
Looking at Robot Man, for some reason, the first thing I thought was Howard the Duck. Something about his jaw and the way his face moved.
Yeah.
I thought of the 1980s Howard the Duck movie. I don't know why that stuck.
Well, I mean, they have to go practical with this TV stuff, and I think it would be nice if the budget was bigger or something, because I feel like a lot of these shows are just missing some. It's just so hokey because they don't have money to be serious.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's the big flaw.
Get out there and subscribe, everyone.
That's right.
They need your money.
Pay that $10 a month.
Hey, speaking of practical effects, segue. Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. We got our first info about that. I was promised a trailer, and we didn't quite get that. Coming to Netflix early this year, next year, whenever this episode comes out.
Oh my gosh, you're pushing it back to next year?
A 10-episode prequel to the 1982 Jim Henson movie. Is anybody a fan? Dark Crystal?
Oh yeah, I love Dark Crystal.
I don't think I ever watched the whole thing as a kid. Like, it was in theaters this year again, and if it had been more convenient, I intended to try to see it. But
I loved it. I've said before, I think more people seem to gravitate toward Labyrinth. Like I see more references to that in pop culture, but I was always a bigger fan of Dark Crystal.
Yeah, I love the lady with the eye.
So we got a little bit of information. It's going to take place, quote, many years, unquote, before the events of the original. When 3 Gelfling discover the horrifying secret behind the Skeksis' power, they set out on an epic journey to ignite the fires of rebellion and save their world. And it's supposed to combine puppetry with a little bit of digital. They're going to enhance it with digital and visual effects, but it's supposed to be mostly practical puppetry. And the leads are Taron Egerton, the guy from Kingsman, Anna Taylor-Joy. From The Witch and a couple
of New Mutants that may never come out.
Right. And Nathalie Emmanuel from Game of Thrones. I'm not sure who she plays on that.
I'll look at it.
Nathalie, Nathali. And then we've got other voices. Mark Hamill. This is just... I had to cut out about half of these. I didn't really know. But we got Mark Hamill, Andy Samberg, Natalie Dormer, Helena Bonham Carter, Eddie Izzard, Toby Jones, Mark Strong, Alicia Vikander, Harvey Fierstein, Jason Isaacs, Keegan-Michael Key, and Simon Pegg. That's just the highlight of voice cast from that. So
huge cast.
I'm hyped. It seems to have full. Heck yeah. Yeah, Netflix is going to throw a lot of money at it. Henson Company is going to be behind everything. So I'm hyped for it.
Yeah, she played Missandei on Game of Thrones. She was like dating the guy with the
Daenerys's
handmaiden or whatever, dating. What was that guy's name? Worm or something?
Grey Worm.
Grey Worm. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was unsullied. Leave it at that.
Yeah. That's good. Good save, because I might have said something.
The last thing I want to talk about in streaming real quick. I got to talk about Voltron Season 8.
Oh, you got to.
This is not going to be quick.
Yeah, this will be quick. Because I don't want to give too much away about this.
You have built this so high up.
It's so good.
I'm so happy you've found so much.
That's
great.
I don't know how you haven't checked this out. We
talk about it for so long. Let's refresh. Were you a fan of this property? As a kid, did you have any toys or merchandise? So you were familiar with it going in.
If Michael was here right now, he would explain to you how I had the Voltron. I had all the lions. In the 80s, the plastic version came out, and it had the matching figures that you could actually fit into the lion. That whoever belonged. Keith went to the black lion, and Lance to the red, and that type of thing. And they actually combined. It was a fun toy, and they had all the sword and the mouth blades and all that for the lions.
So some of this love is nostalgia.
Sure, yeah.
But you're also saying the quality is there.
It absolutely started. I was excited because of nostalgia coming. I was like, oh, they're bringing this back. I'm gonna love this.
Yeah, I remember the name, and that's it. I never knew anything about Voltron.
So, Michael and I would have been about the perfect age when this was big in the 80s and this, airing. Because there's actually there's three versions of Voltron.
Please give us the whole lowdown.
Well, the one everybody knows are the lions, Go Lion. Then there's Vehicle Voltron, which was actually the first Voltron, and the lions were the third, and there was another one in between, which I want to say Michael was screaming it right now. If he ever listened to it, he would be. But anyways, there were 3 Voltron forces. Okay,
so listeners, please correct anything he got wrong.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Please, in excruciating detail, tell us everything Cliff just.
Well, I only had the lions. I didn't have the 18 vehicle that made up the other robots. But yeah, this is season 8. It's been
8th and final.
This is it. We're done.
So we have a beginning, middle, and end. It's over.
Yeah, absolutely.
You 5 were brought here for a reason.
It's like some energy was telling me to search.
I've been picking up alien radio chatter.
You will form the most powerful warrior ever known.
I can't be the only one who sees that this is nuts, right?
Everyone, get to your lions. We're going in.
The defender of the universe.
We've been through more than you could ever imagine.
We are the universe's only hope.
Voltron is stronger now, more than ever.
We've done everything we can to prepare us for this moment.
We gotta get out of there. The only way we're getting out of
This
here
is our
if we
chance
work
to promote
together.
a new era.
They brought us together
Keep
as
repeating
friends.
one word.
It's like making a deal with the
It
devil.
is time to end this war. It is too late to stop what is coming.
Seth would hate it because of there are so many characters in this, and they're not.
What? I don't like characters.
No, but I mean,
You're famous for hating.
I
you
guess.
hate characters, but it's not a very
color-coded characters, especially.
It's a very, I always want to say it's a very DC thing where there will be a character in this episode and they do one little thing, and then 3 years later we see them again, and you know you kind of have to. There's a lot into it. It's kind of like watching Game of Thrones. I mean, that's a really silly comparison.
Wow.
But you kind of have to be at your, about your wits a little bit to remember who all was who and who did what, and you have different dimensions happening now in this season all at once, and well, that's happened a couple times. But anyways, I'm getting on a
Yep.
Stay on target.
So yeah, seasons 1, 2, 3 onward have all they've.
4,
You
5,
you can count.
It was good. You liked it. He liked it, guys.
But it's building all this one story. They do a really nice job of having these little episodes, these little odd episodes where you pick up this character, that character, and you think, well, that was just a weird thing. If I was a little kid, I'd be like, oh, that was funny. That guy was funny. We're done with him. And they're always bringing them back. They always have some sort of significance into the story. And on top of all this, you've got all this. They've done a really good job for an animated show of developing these characters from where they started, and all these horrible things and good things that happen to them that change these characters. They're never who end up, where they started, especially with Keith. He goes on, for at least one season, he or maybe 2, he's off. He's not even really part of Voltron. He's doing his own thing, making his own discoveries about who he is.
Did the line just hop around with one leg or something?
No.
That's what I was picturing.
Yeah.
We gotta find Keith, you guys.
Keith the leg.
Yeah.
And you said it's a very diverse cast,
and that was a big thing. That's why a lot of people took a liking to this one, was because it was
Go for it.
LGBTQ. There we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So on. In that community, though, they were praising this show a lot for being so inclusive, for showing all types of people, and all types of preferences across the board. And then in the end of the last episode of season 7, they got into a little bit of trouble where the people didn't like a certain thing that happened and felt that they kind of blew off this one character as we're not going to explore it as far as we would like. So this year they've kind of there's been a little bit of a, upset fans. I was reading tonight, they were saying in the epilogue, after everything's done, we've saved all of reality. That's what happens, and our story is ended, and we have this beautiful epilogue, except for one character who is obviously gay. We know he's gay. He's had relationships with other men before, and they just kind of shove it in as everybody. This is what happens to our team. This is how they spend the rest of their lives, and we just get this kind of, oh, Shiro got married, and to a character we have no idea who this is. So we spent all this time developing all these characters except this one.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of felt like they threw it in there just to try and make that crowd happy. So,
well, I'm glad, because I a lot of times when you can just smell the cash grab nostalgia, because it's so easy to just, hey, people know this property, do it. So when it actually manages to build on the original and be quality, the same way I thought about the recent Ninja Turtles animation, like that had no reason to be really good. Mm-hmm. Like, just cash in. It's a show for kids. The adults who loved it when they were growing up will watch it, whatever. But then it ended up being really well done. So I'm glad when things can start with nostalgia, but build their own.
I'm always excited because these companies know if they throw whatever 80s property out at us that grew up on that, we're going to snatch it up, no matter if it's good or bad. And I'm always a little leery. I'm always like, well, that sounds really cool, but I'm sure it's not as good as the original.
So for potentially the last time,
yes,
let's hear the tag catchphrase.
Best Marvel movie animated.
Goosebumps.
MKE 2019 TM. He confirmed it the other night.
Great. Any more TV? Or the streaming? What are we doing? That was streaming? We're still streaming? Oh my God. This will be the longest episode of my life.
I don't remember what's next.
You don't remember where we're going?
TV.
Oh, the Lord.
What the hell is a sticky maple?
Run, Barry, run! That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
Go get him, Supergirl.
Well, what this guy look like, anyways?
Oh, he's a little guy, kind of funny looking.
Uh-huh. In what way?
Oh, just in a general kind of way.
Exterminate!
Little pig, let me in.
These violent delights have violent ends.
That's what she said.
Movie.
Are you guys still watching TV?
Just for the sake of this taking forever? No.
Okay.
I haven't been watching much.
I haven't either. So. I've been watching Christmas movies. 'Tis the season.
Cool. Skip it.
Well, we had one major thing to talk about.
I was really hoping we'd get past that.
Yeah, we got to talk about this mess called the CW crossover event 2018.
Something is wrong with reality.
I love you, Barry Allen.
Everyone on Earth thinks we're each other. You did this to us. You can undo it.
Why would I want to?
What's happening?
He's rewriting reality again.
Enough! You will not do to this Earth what you did to mine.
I offered you godhood.
Show them what a real god can do.
I think Seth checked out like half an hour ago.
Yeah, he did.
We put these in the wrong order.
Elseworlds. The 3-part, would you call it a mini-series?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. The annual event.
Which generally we have liked. They're always exciting. They're always fun.
I got a lot of problems with this thing.
Okay.
It was really bad.
All right, so it was 3 parts long, and your first and major problem is it leaves out the legends completely.
Yeah, there you go. Strike one.
So Legends of Tomorrow not included. So we moved Flash over to Sunday for part 1.
Yep.
So we rejiggered the lineup a little bit. So part 1. What do we introduce? Jeremy Davies, an actor I really like, from Lost. He was kind of the squirrely, twitchy guy from Lost, and also Justified.
Awesome mullet.
Yes, so he played John Deegan. Are you familiar with this character?
Not John. I know John D.
Yeah, from the comics, it's John D.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why the change.
No.
Dr. Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
First appearance 1961 in Justice League of America number 5.
Awesome.
So it's a classic villain from a long time ago. Created by Gardner Fox and Mike Stokowski. I was most familiar with him from like the Vertigo.
From Monsters, Inc.?
Mike Stokowski.
That's some other guy.
Wazowski.
Oh, sorry.
So he played an important part in the Sandman series by Neil Gaiman. He was in Arkham Asylum, the Grant Morrison story. So I've read some things with him, but none of the real classic Justice League stuff. And he was in the most recent, the Justice League Dark cartoon.
Right.
They never named him Dr. Destiny, but he was in that, voiced by Alfred Molina. So yeah, in the comics, he has this device that can create dreams and manipulate dreams and turn them into reality and mess with people. They retconned it when Sandman came out, that it was the Dream Stone of Morpheus, how he got this power. So there's a very famous issue early in Sandman. He goes into a diner and has to confront this guy who's just been sitting in a diner for 24 hours making people do awful, horrible things to each other. So yeah, we didn't get much of that. I'm not sure what he was just kind of in the show. He was just given this book of destiny or whatever they would call it by the
Monitor.
By the Monitor,
which looked so bad.
That was better than Doom Patrol.
Really? I did not like the look of the Monitor. He had that weird.
Well,
it did not work for me.
He looks silly in the comics. I don't know how you can translate that.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but
so yeah, Monitor, famous for the 1980s Crisis on Infinite Earths. Kind of showed up to. He's kind of like the Watcher, Marvel comics. The Monitors keep track of the multiverse, and when he showed up, you knew something important was going to happen there.
So he gives Dr. Destiny the Book of Destiny, so he can rewrite reality, and he immediately switches Barry Allen and Oliver Queen. So
you have a book that can do literally anything.
That's what you do. That's it.
And they didn't even do. I think it would have been more fun to see like Grant Gustin acting like Stephen Amell and vice versa. Like, they just put them in each other's barns. Like, whoa, I'm the Green Lantern. Weird. And there was no. I guess there was a little bit as it went, but.
Amazo.
Wow.
You have failed this city. They
line,
lost me right there. I was like, nope, I'm done. This is awful.
It was shoehorned in.
It was awful.
Bad. So yeah, we were in Professor Ivo's lab. We got Amazo showed up,
which was cool.
Yeah,
I like that. That was awesome. They go and they get Kara Zor-El and Superman from Earth 38. Bring them over
Smallville Farm.
Been over this, hon?
No, you talked, I ignored. You need a new muffler.
I think this is a tie rod end.
Come on, Kara, back me up here. No, thanks. I know better than to get involved in a debate.
Again, the Kent Farm from Smallville.
And they actually played the theme song.
Yeah.
Somebody say.
But it was so blatant.
That was almost worse than the You Have Failed This.
Yes, I felt like not only did they play that song as soon as we see the Kent Farm, I think they turned the volume all the way up. Like, everybody, we're playing the song. I had high hopes when that song hit.
For a split second, I'm like, well, maybe is Tom Welling there?
Tom Welling?
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. No. But we got Lois.
Yeah,
the brand new Lois was interesting. I didn't know that was gonna happen.
Yeah, that was odd. She was fine. I like that Lois and Clark dynamic between the two actors.
She kind of reminded me of Margot Kidder. She had that kind of look to her. So I like that.
Now, did you know she was like 4 months pregnant?
No.
When they shot that?
No.
Yeah.
So is that
they hit it well, but yeah, they wrote it into the story.
I wonder why he was holding his cape out in front of her stomach the whole time.
That's just a normal Superman thing to do. No, I did like that. Their whole story of it, because we never get much Superman, and I know Seth says he's too little, but I'm fine with that guy. I like his Clark. I like his Superman. He for TV it works for me.
And I think I read somewhere that this was kind of a test to see if they could do a Lois and Clark series or something to that nature.
Yeah, it's got to be.
But that kind of set everything up. You know, a lot of mistaken identity. Ollie wakes up in bed with Iris, and so that whole thing. So the whole first episode was basically that.
We're mixed up. Oh no!
And then we end. They need to go to Gotham City for reasons.
Right. Reasons.
And we end on a shot of Batwoman on the rooftop. On Monday night, the next night, Arrow for part 2. Which I very much like that Ollie doesn't believe in Batman. And he's like, Batman's not cool. I did this first. I was the first vigilante. So I like that little...
Which, even in the comics for the longest time, with Green Arrow, you had the Arrow Cave and the Arrow Car and all that. He was a blatant Batman ripoff. Who shot bows and arrows.
Yeah, speaking of blatant, some of the Easter eggs here, we had the cops were called to the corner of Nolan and Burton. Not very subtle, all right. And then they're in the Wayne Tower, and there's the bust of Shakespeare sitting in the box. I'm like, hey, cool.
Batman 66.
And then Carr picks it up. Who is this? Shakespeare? Lampshading it horribly. I'm like, just put it in the background where we can find it. They called each other world's finest. Supergirl and Batwoman.
Batwoman. How did you like Ruby Rose's Kate King?
I thought she was good.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
not spectacular, but
they didn't give her much to do.
No,
but the visuals were great. She sold that kind of tough as nails.
Yeah,
combat veteran kind of thing.
Yeah, they mentioned Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I don't remember them being cousins in the comic.
Yeah, they're related somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first time we've gotten, I think, a Batman reference. But
and he's been missing for a couple years. He left town, and so to give a reason why he's not involved in anything. But we had John Wesley Shipp showed up.
What a waste.
As Barry Allen. They're like, oh, is that Jay? He had to say, no, I am Barry Allen.
Yep.
And I swear, I don't know if it was internet rumor or if it was literally Michael who said many years ago he thought Diggle would be a great Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah, that was going around.
I don't know if he got that off the internet, but I do remember him saying that. And then when Shipp shows up, he's like, where's your ring?
Yeah. John, where's your ring?
Yeah, so and then on some version of the multiverse, Diggle is a Green Lantern. But, no payoff, no nothing.
No,
just literally just fan service.
Yep, that's it.
And then we end with Superman in a black suit swooping in.
Yeah.
It's kind of an evil version of Supes. And you have to wait a night till Tuesday to part 3, Supergirl. And we start in a dive bar where we get a tiny glimmer of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
We get Gary as a bartender.
Yeah.
Jimmy Olsen.
Where all the evil doers hang out, all the villains.
Jimmy Olsen is a bouncer.
Yeah, this made no sense.
And then he's Superman's worst pal.
But they've already established they didn't know who Superman was.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
So how did that work?
I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And at some point, Kara says, this is becoming an annual thing. So, again, we're having fun with references and meta humor. He reads the book a little more and says, the monitor says, if you really want to,
do better,
up the stakes, think bigger. So we get Superman.
He turned himself into Superman.
Right.
He's the black suit.
Yeah, Dr. Destiny as Superman. They're all powerful, running the DEO.
Right.
Kind of like the Injustice universe, kind of a Iron Fist of Superman.
So you got a little, and that was the black suit being another thing. Like, oh, it's the black suited Superman. And then you find out it's just John Deegan. And it doesn't make any, and he fights Superman. The real Superman, and the real Superman, he beats up the real Superman. It made no sense.
And at some point, Ollie has a kryptonite arrow.
Yeah.
And I had one of my customers said, well, but if that world didn't have a Superman to start with, Krypton would never have blown up. There would be no kryptonite on that. I was like, let's not. Let's just not.
Yeah. I try and watch these as just a fun thing, but this was a utter mess.
So they save the day. They stop the guy and close the book. I think I don't even remember what the plot was, but
it didn't really matter.
So at the end, John Deegan is taken to Arkham. He's in the comics. What happens? The Justice League hypnotized him so that he would never dream again. to stop his powers, and he went crazy and withered away, and his face became very skull-like.
Yeah.
So this happens in the show. He got the whammy put on him, and he has a weird.
He looks like
didn't
the
look like a
Emperor.
skull. Yeah, he looked. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Palpatine.
Or like the guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark after his face melted.
Yeah.
So he's in Arkham. We learn Lois is pregnant.
Yep.
They're going to move to Argo
Yep.
to have a safe pregnancy.
And I like that. That was like, oh, we're going to go away for a year.
Tune in next year on CW for the Adventures of Argo.
Now, what I did not like was, I don't know if it was right then or whatever, he's like, Supergirl, you got this. Supergirl, you're better than me. I'm like, no.
But just the reason, like, she couldn't just, anytime there's a problem, she couldn't just call Superman to come save us. So he's been written out of the universe.
Whatever.
He crushes a piece of coal, turns into a diamond in a classic, like, Silver Age Superman move that I liked. Makes a ring. They get engaged.
Which was cool. I really, let's do the show. Why not?
So, yeah, we end in Arkham with the Psycho Pirate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where the mask came from. The guy puts on
It's got the gold
mask. And he says, the stage is set. Worlds will live, worlds will die, and the universe will never be the same. Which is the tagline from Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, the logo comes up, coming in fall 2019 to the CW.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was just a setup for another thing. But hey, I'll be excited for that too when it comes.
Yeah. Well, we didn't mention the point where, another thing that didn't make any sense. At one point, Barry was going to run, or Oliver, Barry was going to run.
They ran in opposite directions.
And they had to reach Mach 7, which is going to do nothing. Not to mention, you're running in opposite directions, so you're going to counteract each other.
But somehow it slowed down time.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but both of them have gone faster than Mach 7, and they're like burning up. I was like, the whole thing didn't work.
But I think that was setting up, because in Crisis, famously, both those characters die.
Right.
And that was the deal. Oh, we didn't talk about that. Ollie goes to the Monitor,
and
basically in the book, these two are destined to die. They're going to give themselves, and Ollie makes some kind of deal.
Yeah. We don't know what.
Yeah,
but
so either he is sacrificing himself, it's like, you can cancel my show.
Yeah.
Let these two shows live on. Cancel my show.
That has to be what it is, though, right?
His grand exit will maybe be the Crisis.
Yeah. So we can backdoor that Superman show into that time slot.
So there was a lot of build up to it. There was enough to enjoy, but it was also kind of a mess, and it was not as good as any of the other crossovers they've done.
The last couple of years, I've really enjoyed the crossovers. I thought they were, for TV, it was really
they've been
good.
High points of these shows.
Yeah. And then, of course, in this week's episodes, after it's all said and done, we get the Legends, and they get back on the ship, and Gideon's like, "You have a missed call from Kara Zor-El, Oliver Queen, and Barry Allen," and and they're just like, oh, they just blow it off and make a quick little joke about, oh, it's that time of year again.
Yeah, I think Steele says hard pass.
Yeah.
Like, we're not involved. Wake up, Stan.
What? Done?
Yeah, I think so. Or were we just waiting on me? And you didn't watch any TV at all?
We're bad at segues.
No. I didn't watch any TV. It's been off. I believe it.
Hey, do you guys know how to spell segue?
Segue?
Yeah. Did you know that?
That would have been my guess.
I was listening to another podcast just this morning, and he happened to mention it. He said, I don't want to embarrass myself, but the podcaster, not me.
Is this a podcaster we know?
I don't think so.
Is that a Disney guy?
No.
I didn't know.
But he was like, I don't want to admit this, but I was like in my 30s before I knew how to spell that. And I was like, what's he talking about? And he's like, do you realize Segway is spelled Segue? And I was like, I was today years old when I learned that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into learning things.
Nice. What?
I'm trying my best.
Oh, I'm going to learn something about us. You down with KPP?
Yeah, you know me.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
You don't know how it feels to be me. You don't know me by now.
Why are you the way that you are?
I really got to shorten that thing.
But I love every second of it.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is it.
All right, so I got to pull the thing out of his handful of little papers, and it says we're supposed to talk about our first jobs. So,
first job.
Your first job. Well, I'll talk about my first job. I probably talked a little bit about it before, but when I was 16, a friend in 1987, do the math.
Wow.
I don't care. And a friend of mine had turned 16 a couple weeks before. He's like, "Oh, we got to get a job. Let's go get a job." And it was not on my radar. I was like, "Why would I do that? I'm sitting here watching TV. You know, well, I don't want to go get a job." But it's like, "Yeah, we'll make some money and then we can go do stuff. Blah blah blah. Get cars and all this stuff." I'm like, "Okay." So we go apply everywhere. We apply at Pizza Hut, and guess what? I got a job and he didn't. He didn't have a job for the next year, I swear. But anyway.
Now, somehow I've been duped.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, why did you get a job at Pizza Hut and he didn't?
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway.
Nailed the interview up.
Exactly. I was much more hireable. So anyway, I started working there, and I hated having to work, but
if you were going to work, that was
right.
An okay place.
It was all right.
You were working in the store or like delivery driver?
Oh, and I was a waiter. Can you imagine? Wow. This was the only time I was ever in the service.
And you were like nice to people?
No, no, I was. But you don't have to be. If you're a guy waiting tables, free money. They just, I mean, no. I'll admit it. Guys have to do less to get a bigger tip. It's just a fact.
Now,
girls will agree.
Also, in Marietta, Ohio, in 1987, there weren't a lot of restaurants.
True.
So that was a pretty happening place.
Oh.
Also, there was one of the few places, a restaurant you could go to and
get beer.
And they serve beer.
Right. And it was also one of the few places you could work and drink beer.
Were you allowed to serve beer at 16?
No.
You had to be 19.
No, yeah, I couldn't serve it, but
so if anyone who ordered beer, you had someone else had to.
Yeah, just a manager would run it out there. But anyway, I'm getting. So some memories from Pizza Hut. I've talked before. We had a Shinobi machine. Yep. The summer of '88 was a great summer. I would come in and work lunchtime, make about $15, and blow it. I didn't even make it out of the store. Blow it on Shinobi with a friend of mine. Maybe go over to, well, it was Super America then, not Speedway. We go over there, get some Camel Lights, maybe shoe world, get a $3 pair of shoes, and that was it. I remember ordering pizzas because you couldn't just eat pizza while you're at pizza. It just didn't have free pizza. But if you went out in the lobby just a few feet away and used the pay phone and called Pizza Hut that you were in and said, I need a pizza for Badilski, and I just ordered the pizza that I wanted, and they never showed up. You wouldn't believe it. Well, we could eat the mistakes.
What is the statute of limitations?
Yeah, I'm willing to admit it now. And I remember, closing there on the weekends. I was in the lobby, in the dining room, and I remember pumping quarters in the jukebox and turning it up and Bisselling the floor. Remember Bissell's little jukebox Bisselling, and I loved that. It's just blaring 80s music. It was great.
We probably went there a lot when you were working there.
Probably.
You guys remember Book It?
Children who love to read can grow to new heights, expand their knowledge by discovering new worlds, stretch their imagination by reaching for the stars. Book It is a reading incentive program that encourages young people to read. Support your children's participation in their school's Book It program. Or to find out how to enroll their school, write to this address. When your child loves to read, almost anything.
Remember the Book It program? I remember going to Pizza Hut all the time.
It made me the reader I am today.
Well, okay.
I scored in pies.
Yeah. But I remember that. I was probably, in 87, I was probably in like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And
I was the best dang reader in my class.
You get those little personal
It was the only
pan
chance
pizzas.
we had to go to Pizza Hut, so I was going to read them books.
But it so happened, though, that in that next fall, in 88, little Friday Night Lights action was happening, right just down the road. It's Friday night's football, high school football, and one night it was just me and the assistant manager, Brian Congrove. I'm going to call him out. He's got to be long dead. But he called himself the Con Man, Brian the Con Man Congrove. And he was just, we had a a-hole for a manager, Larry Locant. I'm calling you out too, Larry. Allegedly, you were an a-hole. And he's, I guarantee that guy's dead. And
I made sure of it.
But Brian was cool. But these guys were totally corrupting me. I mean, this guy had to have been, his 30s, and I'm 16 years old, and him and a couple cooks. The cooks were the, really seedy guys. I remember taking us. You remember, Connections? Is it still there in Williamstown?
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah.
I remember sitting in the parking lot. For some reason, he drove us there to smoke. He'd give us. Then he'd threaten us. He's like, "If you ever tell anyone, a big man from West Virginia will come up from behind and kill you." But
wow.
Anyway, one Friday night, it just filled up. I don't think nobody was prepared for this football game, and the entire lobby fills up with high school kids, and I'm the waiter. Like the whole
restaurant,
whole dining room is full. And I was like, I went out, and the first table was like some people I knew, and they were just, I was already, it's like make fun of the waiter guy in his uniform. And I was like, whatever. And I just sat down, and they're like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm quitting. I was like, I'm not doing this, and pretty soon, a few minutes later, people are starting to complain. That Brian comes out, he sees me sitting there, he's like, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Seth, can I talk to you?" Gets me back, he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I quit. There's no way I'm putting up with this." And he's like, "If you don't," he's like, "wait till tomorrow to quit. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to the Con Man." And he's like, he's like, "I'll, you can drink out of the keg all you want." I was like, okay. So he basically did most of the work, and then I sat there till 4:00 in the morning drinking beer out of the keg, and it was great. And came back in, quit the next day to Larry, and he said he was complaining about how bad my carpets looked. So it was great. Wow. Great first job. Sorry.
Wow.
Well, maybe TMI.
Both of my brothers worked for Pizza Hut as well as delivery drivers.
Yeah.
They seem to like it as well. So maybe there's shenanigans going on.
Oh, I can still smell them breadsticks. I love
them. They're no good now.
Yeah, they're not.
The
like they used to
breadsticks
be.
recipe's completely different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awful.
True story.
Yeah, the pizza is too.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yep.
What
I
it
agree.
used to be.
My first job was Dairy Queen, actually. I have no good stories. I worked there for a summer during school.
Mm-hmm.
I can still do a perfect DQ swirl on top of the ice cream.
That's a skill. That's a life skill.
That's counterclockwise swirl.
And I always have here's TMI. I always have a secret hope, like if you're at a buffet or a restaurant with an ice cream machine.
Yeah.
I always do it. and I'm always hoping like someone's watching,
Yeah.
and like admiring.
Yeah, oh yeah. If anyone
and I
needs to
always
be,
make a
yeah.
show of it, like
You see
and
that?
I carry it, or I carry it back to the table.
Excuse me, did you by chance work at Dairy Queen in 1995?
Yeah, I can roll the hell out of a burrito. Let me tell you, I worked at a Mexican restaurant for 12 years. It never comes up.
One of these days.
What about you, Cliff?
First job I had was it was working at there was a graphic design place in Marietta that we knew the owner through a couple people, and when I was like 16 or 17, I went and worked there for the summer.
That's actually kind of cool.
I thought it was gonna be. But it was a lot of just, hey, here's a bunch of pamphlets and papers and fold them and do that all day. Or here, I had to like make the little like notepads.
What was this place called?
It was called Thomas Graphics.
Oh, okay.
It was over on Colgate Drive.
They probably got beat out by Sir Speedy.
It's long gone. And
and you didn't offer any help to Michael when he started his graphic design.
Yeah. Well, I learned my lesson
as an expert graphic
designer.
designer.
Here was the deal, though. When I wasn't doing that, which was a lot, at least once or twice a week, they were like, "Oh, the building was on this big hillside," and they're like, "Wow, can you go out there and mow the grass and pull all the weeds and do all that stuff?" So I had to go out there and mow on this great big hillside and all this crap, and it wasn't very fun. my favorite part,
go design that lawn.
Yeah, my favorite part of the day usually, because my grandparents lived like just maybe 4 or 5 houses down from the place, and I would walk there for lunch some days and be like, come walking in like I'm a big working man, and old Granny Barnes, man, she'd get excited and she'd fix me up whatever I wanted. There were a few days I may have taken an extra long lunch from folding those papers.
All right, speaking of jobs, SEG.
I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
You tossers! You had one job to do!
All right, you came up with something there, Jordan.
We've had kind of a pattern recently of covering recently deceased celebrities.
Yeah, it's getting pretty morbid here. We got to start picking people not just because they died, but
well, I mean, we did Kurt Russell, so he didn't die.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I watched that
Christmas
movie. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I kind of did it while I was wrapping presents. And
that's
Holly
that's my plan. I might watch it while I'm doing anything else.
Yeah, I could see kids that feeling like a modern story you'd watch every year. So
I really enjoyed it.
So who died?
And you also spoiled
what? The best
you
part?
mentioned who the co-star was.
Yeah.
And she literally is in the movie at the last minute of the film.
The big reveal.
Ruined my enjoyment of the whole thing.
So thanks.
And also, little Steven Van Zandt was in it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Merry Christmas, baby.
What were we talking about? Dead people, yeah.
Dead
people. We lost this week a multi-talented actress, director, Penny Marshall.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hassenpfeffer Incorporated.
We're gonna do it. Give us any chance, we'll take it.
Laverne.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Laverne and Shirley back in the day?
I was more Happy Days.
Yeah, well, they were on Happy Days
so
first.
anytime they were on Happy Days, obviously. But
that's where they were
I watched
first.
some Laverne and Shirley.
A few times. I think they were on there 3 or 4 times before they spun off into Laverne and Shirley. Had a little Lenny and Squiggy and
I remember
Carmine DeFazio.
I remember my parents watching that show, being very, very young. At the time
you would have had to be. I mean, I remember watching it as a kid. She drank milk and Pepsi. That was always really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And
had the big
she had a big
L.
L on her shirt. And
so was that her first role? I assume was that her big breakout? We know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Well, we're so well prepared.
Yeah, I mean,
there's really only one reason we're even.
I assumed we would just say Laverne and move on. But.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she she was also, she was in some movies and she directed.
Yeah,
mostly is what
kind of a
she's
second
known for.
career.
Yes,
as she aged out of the sitcoms, went on to be a director.
More known for that. So there's not a lot. She was a director of 7 films.
Is that it?
Yes.
Wow.
But there's some good ones in there.
Yeah.
So she did The Preacher's Wife.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Something with Danny DeVito called Renaissance Man.
Oh my.
I think we got to pick.
Did we just you throw a wrench in your plans?
Oh, that one's for Justin listening in at home. He could quote that movie, I'm sure.
Wow, I've never seen it or heard of it.
Captain Murdoch's not at the AEC. Captain Murdoch's at the ARC. Looking for Captain Murdoch.
Yeah.
The AEC is building 2310. You want building 4475.
4475.
Look, here's what you do. You go right here. Take another right at the PX. Go half a click till you see the DPTM center. Then take a left.
PX.
If you hit the RFPC, you've gone too far.
DPTM RFPC. Can I buy a valve?
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Yep.
Riding with the Boys, I think. That may not even be what it says. Yeah, Riding Cars with Boys. How's that? With Drew Barrymore and Brittany Murphy. And then we got the big 3. So here's basically what we're going to be choosing from. Awakenings is a underrated movie. That's it. It's a good movie. A League of Their Own and Big.
Yep.
So
is anybody going Laverne?
No, because these movies are more important to me than...
Yeah, we've ruled that out completely.
Yeah.
I think in the pop culture scheme of things, that's, she was that's her face.
Yeah.
She's behind the camera for a lot of her career. So the face, when you think of her, is Laverne. But the quality, I think, came later. And how many times have we tried to get League of Their Own onto this list? I want it in the book.
Here's your chance.
Well, so obviously that's your pick then?
That's my pick.
Yeah.
And also my pick for Tom Hanks, and also my pick for Gina Davis.
Yeah. It's going to be awkward to have League of Their Own with no Tom Hanks in it, because or Gina Davis. So we'll see how good it is.
Yeah. How do these cross over?
I know.
Do they
now
exist?
You're wondering. It exists without Tom Hanks.
No, he has to. It has to be some kind of exemption.
Nope.
Where if the movie has to exist as a whole.
I get what you're saying. You're saying, so if you don't get in for that, you can get in for this.
Tom Hanks might have.
This is your way of saving that.
Yeah, we.
I'll allow it.
Like Robert Zemeckis, he's still Forrest Gump. Like we're gonna.
Yes.
The Notebook's gonna have to turn into a yarn wall.
Yes. It has it not already. This folds out. Yes, that's always been my intention, that you can save it by having somebody else, so yes, if you pick League of Their Own, it'll have Tom Hanks in it, don't you worry. There's no crying in one job.
We've mentioned before many times, it's great girl power movie, it's a great sports movie, it's a great comedy. I love it. I could watch it anytime it's on TV.
Yeah. What about you, Cliff?
I like it very much. But I remember when Big came out. I remember what a big deal it was. How it made Tom Hanks a star.
Transformers pull 37% market share. And that we are targeting the same area. I think that we should see 1/4 of that. And that is 1/5 of the total revenue from all of last year. Thank you. Any questions?
No. Not for me.
Yes? Yes?
I don't get it.
What exactly don't you get?
It turns from a building into a robot, right?
Precisely.
Well, what's fun about that?
Did she win an Oscar?
I'll look.
For Big?
I'll look.
I feel like Big won for something there.
Best piano playing?
Could have been.
Well known for that.
Could have been. Best movie scene in an FAO
It won 2 Oscars. Let's see.
Thought so.
Well, he was nominated.
Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it didn't win 2 Oscars.
Okay.
But it was he was nominated. Anyway, I remember, I loved that movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
It's,
it hit a chord at that time.
I would have put Tom in for that,
Yeah.
She was like the first woman director to, I want to say it was like the most money ever made by a movie directed by a woman. The first one, I want to say, I don't know if it's like $100 million or something ridiculous.
Sadly, that doesn't surprise me.
Right. Yeah. So it was a big deal that she directed it, and how successful it was.
But yeah,
who's going to pull first? This is going to be sad. I mean, I'm.
Hey, League of Their Own has a big cast. Like, we can get there later.
I guess because I can't pick League of Their Own over Big as for her. Just because how important it was for what she, groundbreaking woman director, and Big is more important to me than.
As far as movies I love between the two, Penny Marshall and Tom Hanks, Penny Marshall and Tom Hanks, A League of Their Own to me is a better movie.
Okay.
I've seen it many more times. I enjoy it more. I think it has, as a kid that grew up loving baseball so much, I could watch that. That was, A League of Their Own and Bull Durham and Field of Dreams were the big three there at that time, and I watched those movies over and over and over again. And there's something about I can't watch that movie and watch it all, and it's got such emotion to it. League of Their Own,
and it's well made. It's not just she happened to pick a good script.
Right? No,
she the end, the epilogue at the end.
Yeah,
the flashbacks. It's really well made. So you have to.
By the time you get to the end of that movie, you honestly feel good. Mm-hmm. After even though there's,
I feel terrible after watching Big. I'll tell you. Man. So is that your pick?
Yeah, A League of Their Own.
Okay, I'm totally cool with that. I'm glad we got it in there, League of Their Own. I do not have a problem with that at all. So that's a good entry into the book. So for Penny Marshall,
finally,
she will be known in the Ka-Pow books for A League of Their Own. So we got it in there. Oh my gosh.
Now play a squiggy soundbite.
Okay. Yes.
And we can totally deflate all that highfalutin stuff.
That's right.
Now, Miss Cuthbert. You gorgeous stack of pancakes, you. Hand on the floor. Already dressed. All right, get Stillwell away from there. I don't know what he's doing, but get that kid away from the tape. Stillwell!
Stillwell, come now.
All right.
Come over here.
All right, everybody, let's listen up. Now, listen up. Something important has just happened. I was in the toilet reading my contract, and it turns out I get a bonus when we get to the World Series. So, let's play hard. Let's play smart. Use your head.
Now what are we doing? Let's finish it up. We're talking movies. Let's get into movies.
Save Martha! Puny God. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman. Kneel before Zod! On the roof! Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
Okay, well, I watched a billion movies, but I don't need to talk about all of them. Let's hear your movie list.
They're coming up on...
yeah, we're going to be doing my Poobah countdown. We'll get them all in there.
Jordan, we went and saw a movie.
Well, we're not getting there yet.
We're not...
That's the ending, so people can turn it off if they haven't seen it yet.
Oh my goodness!
Safe
What else did we watch?
Well, a couple trailers came out. We had the Men in Black International. Dang it, Men in Black : International.
There you go. Fired.
Otherwise known as The Revengers 2.
Okay.
Nobody else got that?
No.
Well, because everyone in it.
Yeah, they were.
You can't watch any. I'm watching all these movies, critically acclaimed movies. I'm like, oh, hey, it's this guy and that guy. Everyone's in a comic book movie.
Come on, it's Valkyrie and Thor.
So, yeah, Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. Agents H and Agent M. Liam Neeson, Emma Thompson, Rebecca Ferguson. Coming out June 2019.
I'm listening.
This is the fourth entry.
Yeah, does anybody feel this needed to be made?
No.
Okay.
But why not? Whatever.
It's a cool concept. I mean, just seeing them in their suits and, I always liked the original when it came out. So, I don't know.
I like the third one. It was a time traveling one. Like
I thought they were all the time traveling one.
Huh?
Don't they time
Well, this
travel?
one's...
I don't think so.
No? Only in the third one?
I'm pretty sure. It's pretty good.
Okay, the first one's Will Smith, and he becomes Men in Black, Tommy Lee Jones, right?
Yes.
The Bug Man.
Yes.
Okay. The second one is what?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
It's Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
And they dress in black.
Yeah, more of the same. And whoever
I make this
is
look good.
Yeah.
And the third one is the one with Josh Brolin.
Yes. And that's the time traveling-ness.
Okay.
And it was pretty good. I was like, oh, they actually brought this back around. So, so whatever. I'm fine with it. It's not a franchise I love, but it has every chance to be actually entertaining. So.
And it's a good enough concept. You can keep making them. It's not tied to these characters.
At least it looks like they've got a talented cast. So, let's think positive.
And directed by F. Gary Gray, who directed the original Friday, The Italian Job,
Great movie.
Straight Outta Compton. So it's a cast I like and a director that's good.
Give. I learned that in Outfront Connections.
Which one is Rip Torn in?
First one, at least.
Okay, I like him.
He's the confetti guy, right?
Rip Torn? No.
Who am I thinking of?
He was Taylor.
Huh?
Rip Taylor.
Is that Rip Taylor? I don't know.
Rip Torn. He was the
very gravelly voice.
Dodgeball.
Oh, okay.
Or my favorite role, the Beastmaster.
Okay.
He was
One
the
job
priest.
for Rip Taylor.
Oh, exactly.
Rip Torn.
No, Rip Taylor. I want to do Rip Taylor.
Yeah. I'm not cleaning up the mess.
All right. We also had a Hellboy trailer.
Oh,
for
boy.
the,
Confession time.
Reboot or a remake?
I've never watched a Hellboy movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Hellboy.
Oh,
I have every issue.
It is confession time.
I have every issue of Hellboy from Conquer Worm in 1995.
Never read an issue.
Up
never
till
watched
like
it.
a week ago. I adore Mike Mignola's art. I really love the concept. I don't love the movies. They're fun.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah.
I don't say they ruined my childhood or whatever, but it just the movies. I think I saw the second one once.
Yeah, the second one's not good. I think I watched half of it like 13 times before I ever got through it. The first one I like.
I remember enjoying it well enough, but just thinking, wow, it's not my Hellboy, and people love it. People really adore these movies.
Yeah, it was a big hit.
There was a big push. People were mad Ron Perlman wasn't back because he tried to get a third one made for a lot of years. Didn't happen. So we have April 2019 director Neil Marshall, who directed The Descent, which is a very acclaimed horror movie, and Doomsday, and one episode of Westworld, The Stray. Was that a good episode?
They're all good, George.
Okay. So he directed one. We have David Harbour from Stranger Things is now Hellboy. Ian McShane, Mila Jovovich, and Daniel Day Kim from Lost. He is Ben Daimao, which is he's one of my favorite characters in the book. Kind of a hard-edged military guy.
It ought to have
the
a
BPRD.
different feel for after Guillermo del Toro.
So all the still photos that have come out look really cool. They're trying to capture a little closer to the style of the comic. And then the trailer, I wasn't feeling it. They were playing Moni Moni in the background. and it was all just joke.
Yeah.
And
that's what I don't like about a lot of that seems to be such a popular thing to do with superhero stuff now, is just make it jokey, and I'm just over it.
But again, trailers sometimes are misleading.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's great about Hellboy is it throws him into a world that is super serious. He walks in to fight a demon who is, "For I have arisen as the prophecy foretold," and he says, "Screw you, pal," and punches him. Like, he deflates the pompousness because he is sardonic and cynical and goofy. But when everything around him is a joke, that lessens the whole impact of the thing. So again, it's just one trailer, just a minute and a half or whatever it was, but I wasn't real hyped for it. But we'll see. It could turn out to be cool.
So you caught up? You got time? Are you going to get in any rollerblading time by the end of the year?
Well, it hasn't started snowing yet.
Slick out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of rain. The calendar's about to turn to 2019 as we record this. And I'm finishing these movies. You can read all about them on lowwords.wordpress.com.
Lowwords.
I started November with 81 movies, so I had 19 to go with 2 months. I got through 10 in November. So I started December. That makes me 91. So all I had to do in December is 9, which was my normal pace.
Yep.
So guys,
I've always said that. That guy gets about 9.
9 movies a month.
That's my slow and steady wins the race. All right, so November was a weird month because we were getting toward the end, and there were a whole bunch of odds and ends on the poster. Did I even describe what we're doing? I'm watching 100 essential movies in 2018. I've been doing it for 11 months, people. You should know this by now. I'm getting to the movies. They're not on TV very much. I don't have them on DVD. They're odd.
Man, it's a good thing you had that Netflix service.
Yeah, so Netflix offers a free month of DVD to your door. Signed up for it, got a free month, and knocked out 10 movies that aren't... These are kind of the let's say left of center ones. Maybe ones I haven't seen a ton or that aren't
not
really
super
out there.
essential.
So, first one, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I never saw that.
Ang Lee from the year 2000. Never saw it?
It turned me off the fake, the not realistic fighting. I'd never been into the...
Yeah, this was a very a Chinese cast, foreign language movie. A lot of kung fu elements of running across rooftops and tree branches with zero gravity. A lot of wire work. And they've been making kung fu movies since the 60s or whatever.
Right.
So it was a very familiar kind of story, but using Ang Lee's eye for cinematography and Wu Ping Yun, his choreography was just super acclaimed for this movie. And just these movies are cranked out a dime a dozen overseas, but this was the one with pedigree that got to American shores and blew people away of like, what is happening? How are people running up the side of a tree trunk?
Yeah.
So yeah, this was kind of the breakthrough in America.
And does it hold up?
It's good. I like it. It's very much a fairy tale. It's a martial arts fairy tale, basically.
Right. I mean, that's the fact that they can even run up a little tiny tree branch and things.
So yeah, I like it. I don't know that I saw it in theaters in 2000 and probably hadn't watched it since, but it's the probably the top of that genre, whatever that genre you call it. Then Shane, the Western from the 1950s.
Oh, I saw Logan. They talked about that.
Logan, come back, Logan. Alan Ladd as the gunfighter trying to put his past behind him, goes to a homesteader trying to start over, and there's evil cattle barons trying to take over the land, and he gets called back to have to pick up his gun one more time. It is a lot like Logan.
They literally are playing it in the movie. I just remember having that playing Trivial Pursuit back in the day, and that question came up like any trivia game or show or anything. It's always like, what's the last words of Shane? Yeah.
And the great quote, "A man has to be what he is." All right, then Last Picture Show, Peter Bogdanovich, 1971. This one is shot in black and white many years after, we had color film in the 70s, but it was kind of a flashback to the early 50s, and these young kids, their last year of high school, but they're trapped in this small town. They have very few options. They don't have any choices of what they want to do with their lives.
I watched this last year. This is
Sybil Shepherd,
yeah,
right?
Yes. Yeah, she was gorgeous in that movie.
I was stricken. Yeah, was that a word?
Stricken
by her. Yes, and the way they lit her, she was like angelic in that movie. It was amazing. Tim Bottoms and Jeff Bridges are the two best friends. Sybil Shepherd is kind of the girl in the love triangle.
I thought about it. I don't remember what I thought about that. I'm gonna look it up.
It also had Ellen Burstyn, Ben Johnson, Cloris Leachman, and a very quick blink and you miss him, Randy Quaid. I'd never seen it before. I thought it was excellent. It's based on a novel by Larry McMurtry, the guy who did Lonesome Dove. So it definitely has that haunted, Texas feel of the dust blowing in the wind and the fatalism of how life's going to turn out.
Yeah, I liked it.
Your notes?
I didn't put any text in there in my notes, but I gave it a 7 out of 10.
All right. All the President's Men.
Oh gosh!
In November we had an election, so I saved that for election time. 1976, after the Watergate scandal, based on the book by Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, and the reporting they did for the Washington Post, blowing up the scandal, Nixon breaking into the Democratic headquarters. This was Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman, and I had never seen this one before either. And interestingly enough, I just watched Spotlight, the Best Picture winner from 2015. I watched it just a few weeks after President's Men, and it has many of the same beats, trying to get phone calls returned real fast to double check sources and all this stuff. So it's still a timely story, and making it even more timely, it was pretty amazing. Throughout they would show clips, actual news clips of people in the government calling it fake news.
Right.
And they're trying to get these quotes of, did Nixon know about this or that? Oh, come on. This is ridiculous. You guys don't know anything. Your sources are fake. And it was people going on record trying to discredit the media, calling them biased, saying all the things we're hearing today. And this was not a dramatization that the movie was making. Some liberal director was trying to say this was actual archival news footage of actual politicians and actual.
Yeah, it's still my wallpaper on Facebook. Yeah. It has been for the last 2 years. Funny is those guys standing there just observing, and I remember watching that and liking it, and it was that same thing. It's it does a good job of showing how those guys in the newspapers are ahead of TV, because I think they show right in the movie Nixon being inaugurated and those guys pounding their typewriters in the background, already ahead of things that are going to come out later.
I've only seen it once. I remember we watched it in high school in government class.
That's a pretty good movie to show.
Yeah. Appropriate and
1996,
97.
But and again, showing from all sides, people were saying, is this really a story? Do we need to follow up on this? And these guys houndingly saying, no, there's something more here. And everyone was saying, well, move on to the next thing. It's probably nothing big. And they just smelled this story and knew there was something going on. And showing one of the biggest mistakes they made, they didn't get a third source on a certain piece of news. And it almost blew up in their faces because there's some miscommunication and they weren't 100% sure about one certain piece, and it could have all blown up and no one would have believed any of it. So it not to soapbox or anything, but the media is working hard.
Oh man.
And trying to find the truth. So the discount in wide swaths is a mistake.
Exactly. That's the whole thing, is to totally just call them fake and see if you can get away with it. And they've the bar has moved so much nowadays. But anyway, good movie.
And just completely randomly, I try to mix these up and watch different years, different genres. The very next movie I watched was Sophie's Choice, also directed by Alan J. Pakula, who directed All the President's Men. So I watched both his biggest movies right back to
library. One job.
Yeah. Again, another one I'd never seen. Meryl Streep. She had won a Best Supporting Actress before, but this was her first Best Actress award. I didn't know much about it, except you can use it as a synonym for an impossible choice. Oh, I've got a Sophie's Choice.
Catch-22.
Is it Laverne or Shirley? It's a Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, milk or Pepsi.
So
Laverne could never make that choice. She just drank them together.
So it's set in a Brooklyn boarding house, and this guy moves in. Peter McNichol, who was the guy from Ghostbusters 2, who played Janos. So he's like a writer, moves in, and there's this...
It's Vigo!
So he...
Master of Evil.
Try to battle my boys? That's not legal!
So upstairs from him lives Meryl Streep. She's this very flighty, interesting, worldly person that he instantly falls in love with. But she is dating Kevin Kline, who is terrible, is a drunk and abuses her. But it's that I love you, baby, take me back kind of thing. So it is the guy he knows is not right for her versus the good guy kind of deal. And he was friend zoned more than anyone I've ever seen in a movie, if you buy into that terminology. Yeah. But so he's just madly in love with this woman and wants to get closer to her. And we learn more of her history. She's a Holocaust survivor. And the movie is like 2.5 hours, and barely a half hour is set in Auschwitz. And I wish the whole movie was, because that was where the movie really clicked for me. And Meryl Streep, it looked like she had lost weight. Her eyes looked hollow. It was just really powerful watching those scenes. So again, I'm glad I watched it. I probably won't watch it again, but
I'm not in any hurry then. What was the big choice?
You don't know the...
I don't even remember. I know what it means, but I don't know what the choice is.
Well, it was weird because it's like 4 seconds in the movie. They take her and her kids to the concentration camp.
Spoilers for Sophie's Choice.
Really. 1982. And they're going to take one of the kids to the line for the gas chamber, and she can keep one.
Oh my God.
And they're like...
That is a real
and they're just
choice.
It's like, a gun to her head. It's like, which one?
Right.
And it's like, it's not, they don't lead up to it. It's not the big emotional climax.
Oh my gosh.
So it just happens. You're like, oh, what's happening? So it happens so fast. And it's not, it's not, they don't delve into it. It's not,
Yeah.
So not what I expected. I thought I assumed the whole movie was about that.
Because I'm picturing it as a big deal.
Yeah, it is, but it's not the whole thing. It's just, it's...
So who'd you pick? And why? Tell me off air. I'll tell you. Now I want to know.
But it also deals with
She let the ugly one go.
Having to compromise your morals in order to survive, and is it worth living if you have to live knowing you've done these things and what you have to do and lie and steal and betray in order to survive? Is it even worth it? Then I watched Nashville from 1975, the Robert Altman movie. 24 main characters in this movie. And it
sounds like Voltron.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, DC fans would love it.
That's right.
It was
Seth, you're gonna hate it.
Well, I like Altman.
It's a comedy. It's goofy, but I was so impressed with the way he told the story. It's over, I think, maybe a week in Nashville, and it's like clockwork. The way he works people in. 2 people show up at the airport, and there are reporters there talking about this, and then you follow this guy. They go to a diner, and there's a waitress working there, and she waits on the guy who was at the airport earlier. Like they all interact with each other in crazy, intricate ways, but it also feels very improvisational. It's like they're making up half the dialogue, so it's super precisely structured, but also really loose and goofy and funny. Had Ned Beatty, Karen Black, Keith Carradine, Shelley Duvall, Henry Gibson, Lily Tomlin, And what might be my new one job pick for Jeff Goldblum. He is amazing in this movie. He doesn't have a line of dialogue, but he rides around on a giant motorcycle with the really tall, like
handlebars.
Call them are they gorilla hangers or something? What are they called?
I don't remember what they're called, but it's like the Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, Easy Rider.
Easy Rider, yeah, the very chopper, and it's like 2 wheels. It's like a 3-wheeler. There's 2 wheels on the back and this like 15-foot long wheel in the front. That's crazy. And he just has a big floppy hat and like a vest in this 70s like get up, and he just is grinning. He just drives through the scene, and he's just being all Jeff Goldblum. It was like, I want to follow this. I want a whole movie about this guy. He's amazing.
Just to not lose that thread, I want to jump. Actually, to lose that thread, I'm going to take away from that and
I don't know where the thread was going.
Yeah, well, your thread is your list here, but I'm going to say about Jeff Goldblum. I was telling you guys messaging that I watched for the first time ever Buckaroo Banzai this past week, and I did, I'd heard about it, but never watched it. Didn't know what I was getting into, and it was fine. I mean, I see the allure to it, but the major flaw is that Jeff Goldblum should have been Buckaroo Banzai, not Peter Weller, and then I would be all in on that movie.
Yeah, he was not as well known at that point, or he could have stolen.
Yes.
Then City of Lost Children, 1995. You know anything about this one?
No.
This was the movie, probably the
this was in the top 100 essential movies.
Yeah, I knew very little about it. I said that World War II movie is the one I knew nothing about. This one I knew a tiny bit. It's a French movie, but it stars Ron Perlman as a circus sideshow strongman, and he has to help protect these. There's the city full of orphan pickpockets. So Ron Perlman speaks French throughout, and I'm sure his French is terrible. But he's playing this big dumb strongman, so it's if he was speaking English, it'd be like me try, me work hard. So like if his French is super choppy, it's meant to be. They work that. But it had a very Terry Gilliam sort of feel to it, or Guillermo del Toro. It was very much dream sequences, and there were Siamese twins and a brain in a jar. And like crazy clones,
contraptions,
and it was all very practical effects, and just like it was a weird just head trip. But again, I knew very little about it, but I'm glad I watched it. Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
I watched that also because you said you were
Humphrey Bogart Western, directed by John Huston. Cast his dad, Walter Huston, as old-timey gold prospector. So it's basically
that was the best guy in the movie.
We'll get the gold.
Yeah, when he started dancing on the Prospector, I was like, this is where that comes from. Obviously, wherever you see the dancing Prospector.
Also, the famous "We don't need no stinking badges" line.
Yeah.
So it's basically, it's these dirt poor guys have to they go gold prospecting, and we see what happens. Wealth and paranoia and greed can destroy people. And it was one of the first Hollywood movies to be shot on location outside of the U.S. So a lot of it was actually shot in Mexico. And I was kind of stunned. A lot of the Mexican characters in the movie spoke Spanish, because most Westerns, whether they're Native American or Mexican, they all speak English, because it was just easier back then. We didn't do subtitles or anything. But I was kind of amazed. The movie from 1948, probably a fourth of it was in Spanish, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah. It wasn't a ton of fun, though. I didn't have a lot of fun. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of Bogey. I was like, I thought I'd try this. I rented Casablanca. I told you I haven't watched it yet, but I was watching this movie and I was like, this is not fun. And I mean, it felt like. I mean, yes, all these other movies have been based on things like this, so it seems like such a simple message you've learned in a million other movies. But the most fun part, though, was when the old guy went and, they were treating him like a king because he saved the kid's life. And they were like, these pretty Mexican girls are rolling him cigarettes and letting him lick salt off of them before he's drinking tequila. They even were handing him tiny pigs.
Hey, here's a pig for your troubles.
I was like, I don't know why they would do that. They hand him a pig while he's in the hammock. I'm like, okay.
So, I said probably the first body shot ever filmed in black and white.
Definitely.
The next one, 12 Years a Slave. The true story of Solomon Northup, the man who was kind of shanghaied and sold into slavery, who was a free man from the North. I'd seen this one once before and remember liking it, but it's good. There's a lot of movies that deal with this subject. There's a lot of period pieces.
Because I would have said the same thing. I watched it once and I liked it, but I don't feel this yearning to revisit it. But
it has a huge all-star cast. This is what made Chiwetel Ejiofor a household name that people can actually pronounce.
Yeah. Don't forget Lupita Nyong'o.
And again, lots of superheroes: Benedict Cumberbatch, Michael Fassbender, Paul Dano, Lupita Nyong'o, Sarah Paulson, Brad Pitt. Again, this was Lupita Nyong'o's first big, probably first only big,
definitely
first role.
Her coming out party.
You can just see it. There's something about her. She just stands out, like Jeff Goldblum, just stands out on camera. And she's tiny. She looks like she weighs 70 pounds and just frail. But there's some kind of power. And she is excellent in this movie. And it really worked for me this second time, thinking about, this. I'm sure this was in the forefront of their minds making it. But this guy, he's innocent. He does not deserve this at all. But he just gets swallowed up by the justice system. And, how many people even today who have no money, have no voice, have no power, just get swallowed and just lost in the system and destroyed. Their lives get destroyed in an instant through, no fault of their own. And it just deals with, slavery in a very honest way. It's not cutesy. It's not fun. It shows the brutality. Yes, we've seen that in a lot of movies. But it's also kind of the everyday indignity they had to go through. Not being able to use your name, having to sneak a piece of paper, and if they knew you could write, they would kill you. Just the what you had to go, not even the whipping and the labor, but just the dehumanization of it all. And it's a struggle to get through, but a very powerful film.
Yeah, it was Best Picture, right?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah, one.
Yeah. And then I finished up, I don't know how, left turn, right turn, Sound of Music. My first time watching this, I'm sure I've seen pieces of it before.
Yeah, I told you that was on all the time at my house. My mom loves one of her favorite movies, and I was, this past week I was looking at Dish Network, and they'll automatically record primetime on the main channels, and it recorded Sound of Music. So I was like, I know Jordan was watching this, so I'll throw it on. And I came over work and watched the whole thing.
I think on network it's probably about 5 hours.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer, music by Rodgers and Hammerstein. Again, having never seen it, I knew every song in it.
Yeah.
A very famous choreography and costumes and feel to it. As a musical fan, this is top of your list.
Yeah. I think I first learned about this movie through another movie. 1983's Vacation. National Lampoon's Vacation. No, it was European. I'm sorry, 85.
Yeah, I was going to say.
European Vacation. Yeah. The hills were alive with the sound of Griswold.
But I knew the story. I knew it was set in Austria, and it was at the right before World War II, but it was such a weird turn because they mention politics a little bit and what might be happening, and we need to look out. But they're trying to live in their own little world apart from all the the European conflicts and stuff. And then they do the whole movie basically. There's just a few mentions of that. There's a huge emotional payoff. She admits her love, he admits his love. They're gonna get married, and the music swells, and then there's a half hour of Nazis.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get that it might add something to it, but I don't know. I don't know that it even needed that.
Yeah,
did it need the grounding in reality?
I don't know if it needed it, but there's a some great stuff in that last half hour. I mean, those songs, that soundtrack is just
freaking.
It's
Julie
great.
Andrews.
It's great, especially when you grew up with it playing in the house all the time. So it's like it really gets you. I sat down, I was like, oh, this is not going to hold up. I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, it's got some stuff. It's got some problems here and there, but when he comes in and they're singing The Sound of Music to his fiance, and Christopher Plummer's just been a hard ass so far in the movie, but he comes in and it's just, there has been no music in the house.
The Von Trapp children don't play; they march.
Right. And when he came in the house and just is caught up in it and starts singing, I mean, it just like brought a tear to my eye. I was just like, this is so good. And then Edelweiss, at that final Edelweiss singing to the Austrian crowd, you know, trying to say, you know, don't be caught up in this Nazi stuff as they're getting ready to escape. You know, it's great. That stuff is great.
You want to talk about Rule in the box office? That was in 1964?
Five.
Poppins was 64.
Yeah, Poppins was 64. And then she comes out in 65 with that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
One job, pick.
Oh, you know, his number one movie ever.
Come on, please.
Yeah.
All right,
it ain't The Princess Diaries.
Again, kind of an odd mixture of movies from every era and genre, but I am 10 closer now. Got 9 more to go, and we're going to scratch the whole poster off.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get to it. We're going to let you know up front here, we're getting ready to spoil a movie. We talked about it a little last week. It's Spider-Verse. There's a colon in there.
Spider-Man : Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
In your universe, there's only one Spider-Man. But there is another universe. It looks and sounds like yours, but it's not. My name's Miles Morales.
Hey, kid. You're like me. How?
I knew my day would come around this time.
I know it's complicated.
Just had to get my soul and free my mind.
You want to know what happened to you? I can teach you to be Spider-Man. I love this burger. It's so delicious. It's one of the best burgers I've ever had. You have money, right? I'm not very liquid right now.
I think you're gonna be a bad teacher. How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person. One thing I know for sure, don't do it like me. Do it like you.
Brooklyn! Gonna stop us now. Hey, I'm all in. I ain't worried about a loss or a new friend. Never worried about a fraud or a new bitch. Lost love, I ain't worried about a process.
I see this spark in you. It's amazing. Hands up! Whatever you choose to do with it, you'll be great.
And I kind of raved about it a little bit. These guys went and saw it. We're getting ready to talk about it. We're not going to worry about spoiling anything. So if you haven't seen it, you're going to want to check out and go see it.
So what happened was, but Michael and I had been talking about Voltron, right?
Right.
This particular Tuesday.
We got to bring it all back to Voltron.
Oh, yeah. Talking about best Marvel movie animated.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly, it inspired us. So anyways, Michael and I are texting back and forth about Voltron there Tuesday, and while we're at work, and I was at work. He was not at work that particular day. He was en route to pick up the middle child at the airport for Christmas. And so anyways, I get home from work and I get this text, and Michael's like,
hey, I want to abandon my family and go to the movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
I haven't seen him in a while.
I just got back from Columbus. Hey, have you seen the Spider-Man movie? And I was like, nope. Seth raved about it, but nope. And he's like, well, I don't have any other time to go see it. And I was like, okay, it's $5 movie night, Marietta. I was like, sure, no problem. I said, I'll be there. I'll meet you at 9:20
for a 9:40
for a 9:40 showing.
I walk in about 9:30. It's like, hey, there's Cliff in the lobby.
I was like, Jordan's here. Oh, cool. Michael must have.
And Michael said, hey, did you talk to Mike? Or you said, hey, did you talk to Michael? I said, nope. It's like, I'm just here. I didn't know you guys were coming. And then Bucky walked in.
Whatever. I call foul. There's no way.
Happy accident. So about 9:35,
late as
6, 7, 8, so on.
We didn't miss any previews.
Michael got there, and we picked out our row, and we watched it.
Yeah, we picked the Seth row.
Yep.
Cliff had a box of candy.
Big
He was
box.
shaking on purpose.
Yep.
That was a word.
Drink.
And then the warning came up ahead of time. It says turn off your phones,
Right.
silence everything. And I imagined Seth's face showing up like Inglourious Bastards. And
Yes.
just like laughing at us, like no popcorn. He has like a giant disembodied head.
Good. I'm glad I've, like an earworm, I have gotten in there. Yeah, I watched it again this week. I told you guys, I saw it again. I took my son, as we speak, he is watching it for the second time with a bunch of people from work. He loved it.
Yeah,
and
I'm not gonna like this. I'm not gonna trash it.
The elephant in the room is Cliff didn't like it.
No, that's not true. But you, like, when you said, you even warned us because you said something was wrong with it.
Yeah.
It was blurry.
Let me follow up on that. I saw it the second time, and yes, there is a thing they're doing, blurring and things. But the first time I watched it was way worse. Like, there was something wrong with it the first time, and this was much more subtle compared to the first time I saw it. So I feel like I watched it right the second time. But yes, there is a blurring they're doing, like if you just
the
like
animation style,
just like in real life. If you focus on your hand, Jordan in the background is going to blur, and that's what they're trying to do. They're doing a comic book thing. Everything is supposed to be comic booky. They've got
my comic books are not blurry.
Well, if you want to go like Scott McCloud, breaking down the thing, when you go from panel to panel, there's a thing called a gutter, and in your brain, in panel 1, he lifts his arm up, in panel 2, something is smashed. So in your brain, in that leap between panels, you're creating it on your own. So there's always a visual gulf between panel A and B.
We're not saying it's perfect. That's that they should have necessarily done that.
They should not have done that. I hated it. The story was fine. And I told you guys that. I said, but the
story was not fine.
It was fine. It was not Voltron.
Oh my gosh.
But the animation did it. Just as a warning, it took me out of it. Like, it took me completely out of the picture.
So yeah, it is not a Pixar movie. It is not a.
Well, I mentioned to you guys, I said, I've seen that style of animation attempted before successfully with a little movie a short film called Feast, but it's not blurry. It's the same type of animation. It looks the same, but it has no blur to it at all. And that was that's my only gripe. It was just that it took me out of the experience.
I didn't mind it.
I could see somebody not like it. I'm not saying you're right. It's a legitimate gripe. If it didn't work for you,
it wasn't the story. It wasn't any of the voice actors, anything like that. It was specifically that choice that did it for me.
So yeah, definitely Cliff is the biggest fan of like traditional animation.
Sure.
He has the longest history of, all these classic Disney movies and stuff. So you've seen more animated movies than probably us put together. But my hope is, like a lot of things, they see the success of this. We need to make every movie look like this. No, don't do that. It worked for this story, for these characters, for this movie. I don't want to see it elsewhere. A Batman movie does not need to look like this.
I thought, aside from, even I didn't love all the blur stuff, but I thought this movie was gorgeous. The last half hour is phenomenal looking to me. It's so psychedelic, color explosions, and all the art is just it's incredible. I love that. And I love the story. What a coming out party, second time, I guess, for Miles Morales. This is going to put him on the map, and I didn't know his story, so it was kind of an extra thing for me. I didn't know the different powers he would have and things like that.
And he always will be the other Spider-Man, obviously, because Peter's had a 50-year head start. But yes, this puts Miles in everyone's radar. He is now an A-list Marvel star.
Right.
That the same way Rocket and Groot, they were like oddballs, but now everyone knows who they are.
They won't be able to get rid of him now. Like they'll have to continue his story.
And that's cool because we've had a lot of Spider-Man movies, so I was fine with focusing on a different character. And they all the music cues, all the visual effects, the technology they use with cell phones, and the tagging and artwork, like it was all skewed younger and skewed urban. And this was not Peter Parker's movie. This was Miles's movie.
Right.
So cool, go for it.
Yeah, I like the multiverse stuff. I had not been reading the comics about that, so I didn't know about it. I thought it was simple to follow. You said it got a little convoluted to the comics, didn't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but it worked for me. I honestly had not watched enough of the trailers to know that we were going to have like the noir Nick Cage Spider-Man or the anime one or I'd seen Spider-Ham, but and I thought that worked. It was just enough. There wasn't too much that could have got old. The Spider-Ham, I don't know. I loved it. I liked.
Yeah, the plot. A lot of these, like a lot of superhero movies, the plot is just a way to get the characters together and do this, that, and the other. But yeah, it really sold me on the emotional impact. I didn't know that I'd feel that way. When the original Peter, his fate is reached, and it's like, wow. And then seeing all the people come out at the memorial and MJ and Aunt May, and it's like, I'm having feelings.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the time or the multiverse jumping and the gizmo, what he called doohickey, whatever he has to plug in. That stuff's just dressing. I don't get hung up on those aspects of it. But it did the emotions right and it got the characters right. So everything else is gravy to me.
Right. We didn't even really have our Peter Parker in the movie. I was like, and I guess in Miles' world, Peter Parker is perfect or was perfect. The Chris Pine. I didn't know he was in it. I was like, that's not Jake Johnson.
Yeah, when it first started, I thought, is he doing something funny with his voice?
Yeah, I was like, that is definitely not Jake Johnson, which Jake Johnson was hired to be Deadpool light. That's a clean Deadpool. He's a Ryan Reynolds type, And
yes, Nick Miller from New Girl is one of my favorite sitcom characters of all time.
So good.
He is amazing in that show. And Peter Parker is one of my favorite comic characters of all time. And I didn't think, I don't know that he works for this, but for the version they did, he was perfect.
Exactly. And, of course, we had our Stan Lee show up, and the first thing he says before you even really see him is, I miss him already, because Spider-Man had just died, and I was like, oh, that cut me so deep! I was like, I know you couldn't have planned that, and it just was a happy accident, unhappy accident that happened right after he died, and I was like, oh, that hurt. And then when they're all standing out there, everybody's got their Spider-Man masks and things, and and like, oh, I love that it's like you're being the one talked to. I felt like that was a great message, like using this multiverse thing to say, who's maybe in this multiverse I'm Spider-Man. There's no other one in this real one.
Anyone can wear the mask,
right? Yeah. Oh yeah. And if you like this, fanboys, I hate to break it to you, but this is the Last Jedi. Anybody can be the one.
Past must die.
Yeah. You are going getting the past hero training you, and anybody can be Spider-Man. Anybody can be the Jedi. So
the scene at the diner with the burger was kind of like the scene with the milk.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. No, but yeah, the Stan cameo, that's probably the best one ever because it perfectly captured his like, aw shucks, go get him, Tiger. And then it also had a cut of like, he's also kind of a huckster.
Yeah.
All sales are final. Like, it had the perfect Stan Lee dichotomy of yin and yang and good and evil.
Yeah. And I liked how they used the Spidey sense thing to recognize each other and be like, that just felt like a nerd thing, almost like you see someone, oh, you got a t-shirt on or something, you're like me, type thing. connecting all of us Jessies out there, you know.
I tried to get Cliff back on board by, speaking of The Last Jedi, it's also kind of like Up from Pixar. The Kingpin is Carl from Up.
Yeah.
We got that wordless origin story. Made me cry, just like Cliff does in Up.
Yeah.
You guys are full of it.
Vanessa.
And
you need to watch some more animated movies.
He built a machine. It's just like putting balloons on your house.
Nice try.
I gotta get you on board with this, Cliff.
I freaking loved the movie. I loved it. That sequence that I sent you guys, where I don't even know the song, but the "What's Up, Danger" they keep saying, and where he takes his leap of faith finally, and was wonderful. Like it was. The animation is so good in that scene and colorful, and he's finally got his outfit, and he goes up and takes that leap of faith, and it's the shot of the year for me. That upside down slow motion floating up into the city is so awesome. He jumps away from the glass and it pulls the glass, because he doesn't have that perfected, breaks the glass, and then the score mixed in with that song is gorgeous. It's just so good. He's whipping through town because he's, it's not that he just suddenly knows how to do it. He was being trained and things, and everything he was at his lowest point. I mean, that's when he had to take this leap. All his friends had just left him and basically given up on him. His uncles died. His everything's gone against this guy, and he's finally taken this leap of faith. I thought the story was great, and I loved that. Like I said, there was animation things I didn't like, but towards the end, it's an explosion of gorgeous animation, and I don't know. I was really caught up in it both times I saw it.
And I wasn't. The style of the animation didn't bother me as much because it was so well lived in. I don't know how to describe saying he puts on the costume. Store-bought costume, and it looks like a little kid. It doesn't quite fit. He's kind of lanky. The sleeves don't cover his arms, and just the look, the way clothes flowed, the way everyone moved, everything had a weight to it, or the physics all seemed right. Like when they whipped and had to pull down and spring back up, like everything seems so well, because 2D animation, everything just kind of flows. Everything is very fluid. And I don't have the language to describe animation styles and things, but and a lot of Pixar or computer animation, there's a little uncanny valley. There's a little thing they're trying to get a depth to it or whatever, and you get kind of a weird movement. But I loved everything. There's a split second of a scene. They're coming out of the laboratory, and Peter swings through the door, and the door's closing. And Miles does a double step and goes through the door sideways. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that was amazing. No, I don't know any cartoon that would go to those pains to show how you would have to sneak through a door sideways. It was no part of the movie at all. But I just marveled at it, of just what an amazingly realistic thing to show how people actually move in real life.
Yeah, and I like that he's not the character. He's not a super scientist smart guy like every other character in every movie. He doesn't even, I mean, to prove that, I like he's stealing the computer, and Jake Johnson comes out, hey, got some good news, don't need the monitor. It's just like, oh yeah, you don't need the monitor. I love that. And also I love one of the best moments is the bagel. They steal a bagel. They're like, all the scientists whip out this gun, so you hear one of them, oh, he took a bagel! And they throw it and hit someone with the bagel, and it literally says bagel in the air. That's the sound that makes, is bagel. Just all those touches. And
yeah, I think kids are going to love it. They're going to get excited by it. They have short attention spans. They're going to be...
When this comes out on video, and if it hits Netflix or anything, that's when it's going to explode. It didn't around here. I mean, I don't know how many people in your theater. When I watched it here, there was basically no one in there, and I was pretty upset. And it's like you only had a few days before it's not on the big screen anymore because there's so many movies coming out now. It was
still in the big theater, and I think there were maybe 10 people.
Yeah, it was in the big theater for 5 days. That's it. So,
I think comic fans will love it. I think kids will love it. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, it's not everything is for everybody. So specific, this is not Cliff's thing. This is so my thing. I loved it, and I'm not an animation person, I guess. When I got in the nitty gritty looking at it, like I said, I like Toy Story, Incredibles, that kind of stuff. And other than that, I don't love a lot of animation, but this is way up on my list.
And it's winning. Like I've seen, some film critics society called it. That was their best pick of the year. Like it's getting.
It's going to be on top 10 lists.
It's getting a lot of recognition.
I guarantee you. Yeah, critics are not going to forget this movie when they come out with top 10 lists.
All right. So any Easter eggs you appreciated?
There was a ton, but I'm not versed enough to have caught them all.
Lots of Kirby crackle.
Yeah.
The very famous way Jack Kirby would draw mystical or cosmic things with the black dots. We had Kirby crackle through the whole movie. Toward the end, when it was getting all psychedelic, I thought of Doctor Strange, where the buildings kind of fold into each other. And apparently, in the first draft, he was supposed to be in it.
Yeah, that's true.
He was going to show up at the end and help solve things, but that didn't work out. I saw several. My favorite, when he goes into the Prowler or his uncle Aaron's apartment for the first time. You see Donald Glover on the TV for a second.
Yeah.
Which Donald Glover played the Prowler in Spider-Man Homecoming. But more importantly, he was kind of the impetus for the creation of Miles Morales. Because when they were casting The Amazing Spider-Man years back, there was a big hashtag going around, Donald for Spider-Man.
Right.
And he just kind of facetiously was like, yeah, I want to be Spider-Man. And it gained traction, and people were like, yes, he would be an amazing Spider-Man. And it got Brian Bendis to think, wow, a lower class character that lives with his aunt in Queens, if he was created today, he wouldn't be a white kid. And so, Donald Glover was integral to the creation of Miles Morales. So in the corner of the room on the screen, it was the scene from Community where Donald Glover's wearing his Spider-Man pajamas when he gets out of bed. So I very much like that. Every phone they showed had Bendis and Ditko and Slot Pacelli. It had all the names in the phones. I saw Ramita's Ramen was a restaurant. Name for John Ramita. John Mulaney, who voiced Spider-Ham. They had his Oh Hello. The Broadway thing he does with Nick Kroll. They had it was like Hi Hello or something like that. They gave him one. The guys who wrote this movie also did Clone High on MTV, and there was apparently a billboard. There was like Clone College or something. Like that was a very cult animated show for the day. And then the sequel to Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
From Dusk Till Shaun. Which is that's the best concept I have ever heard in my life. He was a zombie.
He looked like what's his name?
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, but he wasn't like kind of zombified.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I just caught it for a split second. I was like, that's amazing. I want to live in that world.
Yeah.
And then of course all the memes. Spider-Man sitting at the desk with the picture of Spider-Man behind him. The Spider-Man 67 memes we've seen, the dancing Spider-Man, the GIF,
Yeah,
so just any image of Spider-Man, the upside down kiss, holding the train car.
Yeah,
we
they
got
paid homage to that stuff, to the Sam
that.
Raimi stuff. So
Amazing Fantasy 15 swinging through.
Right.
So.
But that's what I was gonna say. One of the best things I loved slapping down those comic book covers. Just like such a touch. And then like it was a great way to tell their stories. When they introduced the new characters, I loved that. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, the post credits, with Miguel O'Hara, Oscar Isaac doing the voice.
Is that who that was?
Yeah, okay. And I collected Spider-Man 2099 back in the early '90s. I think it was when it came out, and so. I don't know if they're going to go anywhere with that, but I thought that was cute, using the GIF from the '67 cartoon and stuff.
I want a whole movie of just him in 1967.
Yeah.
So even after all your hype, I still had that in the back of my head. Like, there's no way it's that.
Yeah,
good.
I knew.
It's still just a cartoon.
Well, when I walked in the theater with Nick before he finished, I said, he's like, thanks for coming. I'm glad you wanted to come. He's like, well, I probably wouldn't have seen it. He's like, so you did get me here to see it. And like I said, he's watching it again right now. But he's like, but I got to tell you, you probably overdid it. He's like, there's no way that I'm going to like it as much as you said. I was like, well, Nick, I knew that. And I knew that sometimes I can be hyperbolic and say, this is the greatest, whatever. I was like, but I meant every word, and I couldn't stop myself because I liked it that much. And when we were done, he loved it. So that was satisfying. I was like, at least one person that, wasn't disappointed by my hyperbole.
But anything that's not Pixar is still, any animated thing is still kind of in a ghetto. It has to work harder to get recognized and make a budget. And the same way all the DC movies that come out on DVD, people buzz about them, they love them, and I'm never in a hurry to see them. I get to it when I get to it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had the same feeling about this movie. I'm going to go to see Aquaman in the theater, not because I love Aquaman, but because that's a DC movie. I got to see that. And I didn't feel that way. Again, Spider-Man is my favorite character, and I wasn't like, oh, great, a new Spider-Man movie. And that's my fault partly because I was underestimating what they could do, and I was pleasantly surprised. So, highest recommendation. If you've listened to this spoiler film review and haven't seen it yet, get out there.
All right, guys.
This was supposed to be a quick one.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How'd we do?
Right now we are at 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Wow. Let's cut that into like 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're calling it Jukebox Bisselling.
There, stamp
or segue.
No.
S-E-G-.
No, it's got to be Jukebox Bisselling. That would be like, what?
Jukebox Bisselling. Stars and Jesus. Okay, thank you for sticking around with us. We hope you enjoyed this. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow.com.
Not even close.
Not the address.
That is not it.
Low words, not WordPress.com.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night.
Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com.